Hello PepsiCo family, and welcome to Cooking with Corn. I literally just made that up, so don't give me too much trouble about the name. But wanted to take you guys through the process of smoking a chicken tonight. One of the things that I do in my spare time, one of my favorite hobbies, is smoking meats. So I got the Big Green Egg fired up, done a little prep work inside that I'm going to take you guys through as well, and show you guys the process of smoking a chicken. So hopefully you guys learn a little something tonight, and hopefully you guys enjoy the video. So this is the brining process, and this is one of the most important steps in my opinion. It's one of those things that I don't think a lot of people do, but it's such an easy step. It just takes a little bit of time, but it really can change the difference of the product you turn out. So with something like chicken that has a tendency to dry out, this can really help you. We're going to make the brine today at its simplest form. A brine is just water, salt, and sugar. And so we've got a pot of boiling water here. We're going to add the sugar and salt to make sure that those things get good and dissolved. And then I do have a few additional ingredients. You don't have to do this. This is just things that I found along my way that I like to add. So a lot of times I'll add a little bit of hot sauce, honey saturies, some black peppercorns, and some onion and garlic powder. Again, completely unnecessary for the brining process and holding the moisture, which is what you're trying to achieve with this process. But just things that I think add a little bit of flavor. So we'll get these combined. Once we get everything dissolved and ready, we'll cool this off with ice and let this start setting down. And then once we get this completed, we will add it on top of the chicken in a brine bucket that's food safe, and we'll let that set anywhere between 4 and 24 hours. The more time you have, the better, but at least 4 hours is kind of the minimum to make sure that you get a good brine on your chicken. All right, now that we have the brine made, basically we've put some ice in this to cool it down to make sure that it's not going to start pre-cooking our chicken at all, because again, it's going to go in the refrigerator from anywhere from 4 to 24 hours. So all we're going to do is just go ahead and pour this on top of our chicken, make sure that things are fully covered. If you don't have quite enough brine at this point, I believe I'm going to, but if you don't have quite enough brine, we're just going to go ahead and top this off with just a little more regular water, make sure that everything's fully covered, and it's going to go set in the fridge for 4 to 24 hours. Okay, so at this point the chicken's been in the refrigerator for about 4 hours in the brine, and we're going to go ahead and pour this off now. One thing to note is the brine solution is very salty, so we're going to want to rinse the chicken after this to make sure that we get rid of any of the excess salt, because we're going to go ahead and put the rubs on next, and we don't want to over salt things. So we're going to pour this out, rinse it off, and we'll put it on the rack, and then we'll go ahead and get this rub put on. These are the two rubs I use. Wright's is local, which I love, and pretty simple. It's basically just salt, pepper, and a little bit of raw sugar. And then I also like this. It's called Honey Bacon Hog. It's from Meat Church Barbecue out of Texas, and it actually has raw honey ground up in it, and so it gives a little bit of sweetness and has a little bit more color to just give that final appeal and look that you're looking for on your smoked chicken. So after we got the brine rinsed off, we put it on a rack so that we can make sure that we can get everything good and dry as well. Once we get everything good and dry, go ahead and do a light coating of avocado oil, and that just helps the rub stick a little bit better. And I use avocado oil because it has a high smoke point so that you don't end up burning anything. But just a light coating of avocado oil, and then the rub, and then we'll go ahead and let this set for 30 minutes before we move it to the smoker, just to make sure that everything has time to adhere good and get a little bit of flavor penetration before it actually goes on the smoker. So I've got the chicken seasoned and letting it rest for 30 minutes. I came out and started the egg, just getting things up to temperature. We used an indirect cooking tonight, so I have a thing called a plate setter that allows the heat to come up and travel around so that you don't burn the actual chicken itself. It works more kind of like an oven, but you don't have to have a Big Green Egg. There's all types of different grills that will work for smoking. Your classic Weber charcoal grill is one of the most famous and most popular. You can absolutely smoke meat on that. Just get on YouTube and look for videos on how to do that. There's tons of different techniques to make sure that you don't get things too hot. And it's mainly just about air control, controlling your fire, making sure that things don't get too hot, and just staying right in that precise window. Tonight, again, shooting for between 250 and 275. Currently showing about 190 degrees, so I'm going to go ahead and start choking this down to make sure that it doesn't get too hot, and before too long we'll have the meat on and be ready to start rolling. This is just a tips and tricks portion of the video, but I think that one of the most important tools that you can have in the kitchen is a good thermometer. So this is one that I have kind of specialized for smoking. It has the ability to utilize 4 different probes that you can monitor different meat temperatures, then also your pit temperature. So that's what you're seeing right now is currently running the pit, coming up at 140 here, and I'll be running tonight at about 200, between 250 and 275 to smoke the chicken. And then we have the secondary probe that it's currently just sitting out right now, so it's 94 degrees out here. But that we'll have that so that we make sure that we don't overcook the meat at all. So again, you can buy them online, entry level about $60. You can get a good one, but just make sure that you get a good accurate one because it is very important. All right, so the egg was at 250 degrees, which is exactly what we're shooting for. So we went ahead and put the chicken on. We've got the probe in the deepest part of the breast to make sure that we get an accurate temperature. And now it's the waiting game. So close the lid, we'll check on it about hourly and monitor our temperatures in between. But just the main thing is holding that ambient temperature between 250 and 275 degrees until we had a done temperature of 165 degrees for chicken. All right, folks, we're about an hour and a half in so far, cruising right along. Currently sitting at about a 132 internal temp, cooking at 275. It's a little bit chilled right now because I've had the lid open for a minute, but cruising right along. We'll wait until an internal temp of 165 and we'll have her done. So after about 3 hours and 15 minutes, we are at an internal temp of about 165. So we went ahead and took it off. We'll go ahead and let it set for about 30 minutes at this point, just to let everything kind of settle in. And then we will slice, and it's time to eat. Bon appetit. I hope you guys enjoyed.